have a credibility gap when it comes to Benghazi, and why wasn't the administration more transparent? Joining me now is Christian Whiton, a former State Department senior advisor and the author of Smart Power, Between Diplomacy and War, and Mark Jacobson, senior advisor to the Truman National Security Project. Christian, with regard to this Ben Rhodes email, wherein lies the significance that it wasn't handed over sooner, or that which it actually says?
To me, what it actually says is more important. You know, they're going to subpoena Kerry, but he can always just blame this on a clerical error. The reason it wasn't turned over, the reason it was discovered was because of a Freedom of Information request from a conservative group. But to me, the more important thing is that it identifies political appointees at the White House as the source of what's been described as a cover-up. Before, it wasn't clear who changed the talking point specifically. Did it happen at the NSC? Did it happen at the State Department? Now we know that Ben Rhodes was at the crossroads of that, and presumably he had to take direction as a mid-level staffer from somewhere else at the White House.
Mark Jacobson, what is new here beyond the fact that the administration should have handed over this information sooner?
I actually don't think there is anything new here. The narrative hasn't changed. The information from what happened at Benghazi hasn't changed. There's been an accountability review board. You've had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff testify, had numerous administration officials over and over again. You have former Secretary Clinton being abundantly clear about what happened. And what worries me here is the analogy is not Watergate. The analogy are the McCarthy hearings. I mean, this is really a political witch hunt that, in the end, weakens the nation.
Christian, I take it you don't see it that way.
I don't. You know, John Boehner, of all people, has been very hesitant to go down this road. This has been something that's been focused mostly by media that's been considered more on the conservative side. And John Boehner, frankly, wanted to spend this entire campaign season focused on Obamacare, and he's now been forced to create a select committee because you have this revelation not only in the Rhodes email, but also in an email from Beth Jones, a senior assistant secretary of state at the State Department, who wrote the day after Benghazi that, no, this is the response not to a video, but this is in response to a terrorist attack from Ansar al-Sharia, the al-Qaeda-affiliated Islamist group. So you do have some new information here. And, you know, going back to your interview with the president 2 weeks after Benghazi happened, I mean, the president said he was shooting straight with us. Honest, that's not true. And what the select committee can discover is whether this was just sort of obfuscation at the political mid-level of the White House, or whether it in fact goes up to the level of the president and Secretary Clinton.
Mark, how about politically speaking? Do you see this as all designed to thwart a Hillary effort in 2016?
Well, Michael, let me get to that in 1 second. I think in what Christian has said, I mean, this is the guts of it. We're talking, I've been an intelligence officer for 20 years. And the first thing you are taught is that first reports are often wrong. And I think in your interview, and in fact in the Beth Jones email, and Ben Rhodes' discussion of the talking points, what you see is a White House trying to get to the bottom of what happened. It was unclear what happened initially. And again, I just don't understand why the committees, after 9 hearings, close to 50 briefings from the administration on the issue, aren't focusing on trying to fix the problems, for example, such as greater support for our diplomats abroad, rapid diplomatic security forces where they're needed, and making sure the Department of Defense and Department of State can defend and protect our diplomats.
So do you think it's politically motivated with an eye toward Secretary Clinton running in 2016?
Well, it's either ignorant or politically motivated, and I don't think we're talking about ignorance up here. So, yes, they are going after Secretary Clinton. They're trying to create a political agenda that can help kind of drive this false narrative for the 2016 campaign.
Christian, this drum was thumped in the last campaign, the last presidential cycle, and without the intended effect. Do you think now this issue has some new resonance that it lacked? And I don't mean with the hardcore conservatives, I mean with independents, and maybe even some folks who are left of center who are going to sense that there was some chicanery here that they previously didn't recognize.
You know, I think it has to an extent, just because it's going to be more covered by the media, when it was just a few hearings by committee. And those hearings were not run well. Those Republicans asking questions, I'm a conservative, but I'll be critical here, were not singing in chorus. It was like cats meowing at random, often at witnesses from the executive branch. Now you will have a hearing. It's a TV spectacle, whether you agree with it or not. And I think it is important that we know whether our politicians are lying to us or not, and how high this whether it was a misunderstanding or conspiracy went. But, you know, Mitt Romney, 2012, he did not take the opportunity to make this an issue. It was early days after the attack. But now I think just the absence of other news and the fact that you'll have a committee that is a big media thing means that this is an issue going forward. I don't think it necessarily needs to impeachment, but it will lead to a better informed electorate about the performance of President Obama and Secretary Clinton when they had positions of intense responsibility.
Quick response from Mark Jacobson. You'd admit at a minimum it's a transparency problem and a credibility problem for the White House not to have handed over an email with such clear relevance.
I'm not willing to say yet that it's a credibility problem. I think we'll see in the coming days why this took place. But, spectacle, theater, I mean, that's what this is. This is not true concern for the nation's security.
Christian White and Mark Jacobson, thanks so much for being here.